Let's get a quick take on the legacy of Aurora Mayor Steve Hogan, who passed away over the weekend, just a few days after he announced he was entering into home hospice care. Patty Calhoun for Westward, there's been a lot of outpouring about Steve Hogan and his legacy. What were some of the comments or the things that you already know about his legacy that stuck out most to you?
Well, he was certainly a great public servant, and the note he sent right before he was right when he went into hospice, because this was a very quick-moving cancer since it was diagnosed, was lovely, and talking about how Aurora had been his love and how he had, when he started, it was just a little town, and now it's grown into what, the 54th largest city, growing fast. We've got Gaylord coming up this year. Just, he did an amazing job for a city he loved.
Michael Fields joins us from Americans for Prosperity. I think Patty hit a good point. Steve Hogan was a part of the Aurora leadership over really a major growth where it certainly hasn't overtaken Denver, but it has become a pretty equivalent sibling right next door. What comes out to you as some of the bigger points of his legacy?
So first of all, our hearts go out to the Hogan family during this time. But yeah, those decades of service that he put in as a public servant, he was on city council, he was a state representative, he ran E470, and then had 2 terms as mayor, and was really in charge of this time during this big development time. Also remember that during the Aurora Theater shooting, that he comforted the city, really stepped up leadership-wise there. So I think Mayor Hogan is somebody that you can look at if you're a young person in politics or anybody in politics, how public service is done.
Penfield Tate, attorney at QTech Rock, also a longtime civil servant as a state lawmaker and other positions. Steve Hogan seemed to be somewhat of an unsung hero, Aurora being kind of the middle child when it comes to cities in the metro area, Denver getting a lot of the press, but Aurora has done a lot of things and has encountered a lot of difficulties, as Michael brought up. What stuck out to you about Mayor Hogan's legacy?
You know, it's interesting when you say an unsung hero, because he was a hero, particularly on behalf of Aurora, but he had an understated style. He was not someone who always ran to be first in front of the cameras. He was really focused on the substance of his job. And as I remember him, a couple of things will come to mind. I think among Aurora's history of mayors, he was one who really embraced the concept that Aurora was part of a larger region and state. So I think he really advocated for acting regionally and working cooperatively with Denver, and the city's in 2 counties, and working with both Arapahoe and Adams County commissioners, and helping to find ways to resolve problems by creating win-win-win situations for everybody. And the second thing that I think I will remember most about him is he presided over Aurora during a time of pretty explosive growth, but the other thing that was unique about Aurora's growth was it became, in many ways, more diverse than surrounding communities. And he found a way to help the community embrace the diversity. And I'll never forget on this show, one occasion I gave him my shout out as Say Something Nice, because he was one of the first local elected officials to talk about in the wake of the presidential election that certain attitudes and intolerance wasn't going to be tolerated in Aurora, because Aurora's better than that. A great, wonderful man, and he will be missed.
Krista Kafer, Denver Post columnist, rounds out the panel. One of the lonely few left. We're happy to have somebody from that's writing for the Post. Krista, your impressions of Mayor Hogan's legacy?
Yeah, I think he shows that nice guys sometimes finish first, right? That you don't have to be flashy, you don't have to be mean, you don't have to hit back, that you can actually be a good guy, a good public servant. You can preside over what I think is a terrific city, Aurora, city I've come to appreciate for its diversity, for its fabulous food. Of course, I love food. The diversity is beautiful there. They have a lot of refugee communities, there are immigrant communities, and yet the city is a cohesive unit. And I think everybody ought to just check out Aurora, if not for the mayor's sake, for its own sake.